ちに向けろ。さすがにカメラの前で女を殴るのはまずいからな。
脱いだからいいだろう。許してくれ。好きな人を守ることができない。バイバイ朝宮。
In a world where views and likes rule the world, everybody tries to become a famous YouTuber. One of these famous YouTubers in particular makes his money by bullying and abusing ugly students within his class. He makes tons of money off of this and gets loads of babes, but what happens when the ugly loser starts his own account? Running his YouTube stream is a man named Pago, whose ugly looks aren't the only things going for him. He also decides to introduce the school thought, Rumi, to his live stream, knowing it's all horny young boys watching. By introducing her as a beauty YouTuber, she takes the lead for showcasing a loser boy with terrible makeup. Everyone tuning into the stream makes fun of him, while all of the other students watch. This ugly boy is Hobin, a young rascal who gets absolutely no girls. Pago orders him to smile for the camera, unknowing that he has crooked teeth. After the stream is over, he tries to go wash the paint off, but is unable to, making him have to deal with his ugly face all day. He looks into the mirror, thinking it's the paint making him ugly, not knowing that it's just him. He then heads back to class after washing most of it off, but is assaulted once again. A blonde man named Snapper starts beating up on him for looking so ugly, claiming if he was better looking he would get more views. As he gets beat, he eventually stands up against him, giving him a dirty look, thus stopping Snapper's advances. Our protagonist, Hobin, reveals that in reality Snapper is a big wuss, stopping his attacks whenever he gives him that glare. He then overhears the school thought talking with Pago about their earnings, learning she made 3,000 yen. When he hears this, he considers making his own channel, but stops when he overhears Snapper getting the same idea. Pago tells him if he wants to make an account, he needs an adult bank account. Snapper reveals his parents are all dead, so he can't do that, so he gets another idea. He approaches Hobin and asks him if he can use his mother's bank account. Pago overhears this and starts laughing at him for how dumb a question that is. Hobin, on the other hand, follows suit and ends up giving Snapper his sick mum's bank details. With her being bedridden for the past few years, he has no family at home. While talking with her, she notices his beat face, so she asks if he got in a fight again, but Hobin plays it off. Once he leaves, he has to pay 3,000 yen for her medical bills, revealing that was his monthly paycheck from his minimum wage job. While working, he gets frustrated from making so little and being pathetic. As he thinks his life is over the McDonald's idol, Bomi emerges, asking him where the burgers are at. Embarrassed by just being talked to by her, he tells her where they are at. Once he does, the other workers try to guide her there as if she doesn't work there every day. She then goes back to working the front counter, making you wonder why she even needed to know where the patties are. As he lives that small moment of talking to his idol, his lifetime enemy Pago enters the store, claiming he is here to interview Bomi. He instantly starts spitting some game on her, telling her if she can't make a specific burger in 30 seconds, she has to give him her number. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Have you ever dreamed of becoming a famous YouTuber streamer? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now back to the recap. He continues his advances on her, giving her an ugly face, making her cringe. While this happens, the other random workers talk amongst themselves, thinking it's over for her. Just before the time runs out, however, Hobin emerges with the burger fully cooked. He tells Pago to leave now, acting like a boss. He claims to be the king of McDonald's, being proud of cooking the burger so fast. Later that night, when he goes home, he finds Snapper inside of his home, using his computer to live stream. Despite just starting his channel, he somehow is already getting large donations, angering Hobin. Because of this, he decides to spit in Snapper's food, but as he goes to deliver it, he trips on the cord. This turns the monitor off, and in the process, he drops all of the hot food onto Snapper's face. He tries to apologize, but Snapper doesn't let it slide, beating him up for doing such a thing. As he gets beat up, Hobin realizes that this is his own home, so he starts fighting back. He starts by slapping him in the face with spaghetti, and this leads to an all-out brawl between the two. With both sides using whatever is at their disposal, we pan to the camera, which is still running. During their fight, various people watch this go down, finally seeing something interesting. Following this, Hobin lies in his destroyed room, wishing that he could just live in peace. As he sleeps, he eventually turns the power cord off, needing to save electricity. In the morning, he wakes up to Snapper spam calling him. He demands that he delete the video, explaining their fight was recorded. This makes Hobin realise that he didn't unplug the computer, but rather just the monitor, meaning the whole fight was recorded and uploaded. Hastily, Hobin rushes to the computer to delete the video, but he soon learns that it has millions of views with over 100,000 comments. He thinks his life is over with this, realising not only is he being bullied in real life, but also online. As he goes to delete it, however, he sees comments talking about how much money he must have made on this video. When he counts up the amount of views in comparison to money per view, he realises he has amassed over 1 million yen. The next day at school, instead of Hobin being the centre of the bullying, it is now Snapper. To save face, Snapper tries to pick on the weakest link in the class, some fat nerd, but the opposite happens. He gets beat to a pulp, and Pago does nothing but watch. With this, he became the new laughingstock of the school, ruining his life. Hobin, on the other hand, goes to pay his hospital bill and thinks that it's no big deal this time with so many views. He looks at the views and keeps racking up, but as he does, Snapper emerges, punching him in the face. He demands to get half of the profit, but Hobin fights back, socking him in the nuts. This leads to a huge fight within the block, gaining loads of attention. As the fight goes on, Hobin starts to realise fighting isn't that bad. Following these events, they sit down to talk it out, where Snapper reveals he recorded the entire event. He tells him that with his filming skills he can do whatever he wants. Hobin thinks that he plans on blackmailing him, but Snapper has another plan. He tells him that he will help him make tons of money acting as his producer. He informs him that the only reason Pago got so famous was because of him. Snapper then tells him of all the various aspects that go into being a YouTuber, showing he thinks he has no chance at making it. He proposes that he become Hobin's producer so that they can make tons of money together. The thought of all this money excites Hobin, so he considers his offer until he hears Snapper's demands. He tells Hobin that he will get 90% of the profit while he gets only 10%. Right before he shakes his hand, however, Hobin gives him the finger, asking where he thought he could get off demanding 90%. Snapper then negotiates lower and lower until he eventually decides on giving Hobin 90% and him taking 10%. With this being said, Hobin decides to hear him out, asking what his plan to become famous is. Snapper tells him that they should continue with their fighting, but with a bit of a twist. He suggests they confront bullies and beat them up to act like a hero. The next day at school, Pago makes sure to take advantage of their fame, calling them the Bullied boys. He makes them look like losers for his camera, while making sure to scam them. He tells his viewers that he will give a giveaway for one lucky viewer, but Hobin stops him, informing them he is a liar. He continues by showing his bruises, completely exposing Pago. He continues to expose him, drawing the attention of tons of various people, hoping he will anger him. Pago then shows him his phone is turned off, revealing he ended the stream long ago. He then begins beating up on Hobin, not knowing this is all being streamed from Snapper's perspective. With front row seats to this fight, he plans on stealing all of Pago's viewers, knowing this will draw loads of attention. As Hobin begins to get beat up, he wonders if what he is doing is really right. He knows this is a scummy way of making money, but eventually knows if he doesn't stand up to this bully, things will never get better for him. He raises his fists in hopes of fighting back, thus inciting Pago to step his game up. As it goes on, people think that Hobin is brave for standing up to him, not knowing that in reality he is scared to the bone. He looks at Pago's muscular body filled with tattoos and wonders if he even has a chance. Hobin considers apologizing, but when Pago starts roasting his ill mom, it pushes him over the edge. He finally starts fighting back, grabbing Pago's leg, but it does absolutely nothing. He then picks him up whole and slams him into the ground, showing he isn't messing around. As Hobin continues to get beat up, he realizes that his fights against Snapper were just child's play. Eventually someone speaks up, it being some bum lying idly in the corner. He tells Pago to stop his shouting, revealing he is an MMA fighter Kim. Pago instantly cowers down, telling not only Pago but also Hobin to watch their tone around him. Hobin sees all of this, and wonders if he has a chance at becoming someone like him as well. With this event taking place, Pago leaves the room thinking he is the victor. Later that night, when Pago goes to turn his phone on, he is stunned to see tons of messages ridiculing him. He sees the video of him beating up on Hobin and becomes enraged. Hobin, on the other hand, thinks what he is doing is for justice, when in reality he is just greedy. With Pago already being pretty famous, this video ended up trending on YouTube. Pago's image gradually went downhill while Hobin soared like never before. Now that he has made it this far, he knows there is no turning back. The only issue is he doesn't know any other bullies to fight against. Because of this, he meets up with Snapper to discuss their plans. He informs him that if he ever wants to make money, then his fights need to be longer so they can put more ads in them. This leads him down a rabbit hole of figuring out how to become better at fighting so he doesn't lose so fast. After a ton of searching, he eventually stumbles upon a YouTube channel with videos explaining how to fight. With this channel not having a single subscriber, he wonders if it will really help him, but as he watches, he gradually learns more and more. The Chicken Man teaches him valuable rules to fighting, including to never get worked up. He explains that whoever lets their emotions get control of them first will be the loser in a battle. He then talks about fighting methods in detail, making Hobbin question its authenticity. Despite this, he ends up watching the entire video. The following day, he heads to his McDonald's job and tells the manager he is quitting. Bomi learns of this and ends up becoming sad, showing she has hidden feelings for him. She decides to tell him this, going out before he leaves and offering her contact information to him. The next day at school, Hobbin texts during class, wishing he will get in good with the baddie. As he texts her, Snapper suddenly emerges and reveals Hobbin has already amassed over 100,000 followers. With this being said, he still needs a plan to make more videos, so he asks him what his plan is to make the fights longer. Hobbin informs him he watched some Chicken Man, but he is soon interrupted by the school thought. She asks Hobbin to do a stream with him, offering her body in exchange for it. This offer intrigues Hobbin, but he eventually stops when Pago enters the room. He tells Hobbin that because he ruined his channel, he plans on making his school life worse than ever. He charges Hobbin and strikes, but somehow he ends up evading the attack. Filled with anger, Pago continues his attacks, showing no mercy. As this goes on, Snapper makes sure to record it, forcing Pago to stop in his place. Now with him being recorded as a bully twice, he is forced to stop, telling Hobbin he better not see that video uploaded. Pago then leaves, making Hobbin realize that the Chicken Man's video wasn't just a facade. Later that day, he is seen waiting around in a city center for Snapper. As he waits, he decides to text the McDonald's girl, hoping to one day secure a date. Before he does, however, she proposes it first, hoping to talk on the phone first. While he texts her, some thug walks up on him, claiming they are big fans of his. They try to get on well with him, sucking up to him in the process. This makes Hobbin realize what power he holds, but soon after this, the man who he thought was a fan starts to rob him. As this happens, Snapper runs up on him but gets knocked down in an instant. The thug decides to take it up a step, stealing Hobbin's phone to show he means business. As he walks away, however, Hobbin tries to stop him, not wanting to lose his contact with the McDonald's girl. Little does he know Snapper has been recording this entire thing, urging him to go fight the thug. Once Hobbin hears this and thinks about all the money he could make, he wastes no time starting his fighting stream. He starts by approaching the thug within a karaoke room, confronting him for his phone. With this man being stubborn, he asks Hobbin if he wants to throw down, showing he has no intentions of backing down. Hobbin doesn't either, however, facing off against him despite their difference in size. When the thug hits for the first time rather than backing down, Hobbin tanks the hit entirely. This stuns the others, making them wonder why Hobbin would move into the hit rather than dodge it. Hobbin, on the other hand, reveals that the Chicken Man told him this technique, calling it the coward's dodge. The thug then moves in for another hit, but this time rather than take it head on, he dodges it entirely. By weaving side to side, he makes the thug miss his hit, thus forcing him to continue. As he throws punches, Hobbin keeps dodging, making the thug look like an idiot. Hobbin tells him again to give his phone back, but the thug doesn't back down. Instead, he is left wondering why Hobbin keeps tanking his hits, making him question his own strength. Hobbin, however, only watched this video, making him completely unsure on how to fight back. With neither side really taking the advantage, Snapper wonders if he should make a move to incite it. As he thinks of this, people start talking in the comments saying that Hobbin will end up winning. Others say he is crazy, but little do they know the man talking behind the comments is the MMA pro. He tells everyone to look at the thug's fists, revealing from him throwing all of these punches, his fists are bruised. Once the adrenaline dies down, the thug starts to feel the pain, but at the same time Hobbin feels it as well. Although this seems like a bit of a failure of a fight to Hobbin, he is happy to have gotten his phone back. Including this video, they have amassed over 1 million views in their first week. In total, they have gotten 25 million views, thus giving them a little over 2 million yen. Although he has all this money in front of him, Hobbin is still unimpressed by it, telling Snapper he thought he would get more out of it. Snapper explains that although it's usually 1 yen per view, a majority of the time, people get paid lower. He tells him that they are lucky to even get a penny, informing him that because of their type of content, there is a high chance of getting demonetized. As they talk, they see the school thought roomie standing outside, so they watch her. Once she notices them, she instantly runs after them, hoping to milk their publicity for some change, but they don't let her. They run away and end up standing outside of some store. Hobbin sees a tracksuit that he falls in love with, but upon reading the price, he is stunned. With this tracksuit costing 140,000 yen, he considers it impossible to ever afford. Little does he know Snapper has the same thought he has, going into the store and buying it without a second thought. Once he sees this, he realizes even if he has all of this money, if he doesn't save it, he will never be rich. He then gets a text from someone and ends up buying the tracksuit anyways, making you wonder what he is up to. As he waits, he decides to pull out his tripod, attracting tons of attention from those around him. Some people talk trash about him while others run up on him asking for a picture. Or so he thought, but standing behind him is some handsome man overlooking Hobin. The girls take pictures with the man, but he runs off when he notices a hot girl. He tries to spit some game on her, but she ignores him, approaching Hobin instead. She tells him his tracksuit looks good on him, showing she is wearing the same one despite working at McDonald's. With Bomi in front of him, it makes him remember his past, always being picked on by others. He had always wanted to be someone like Popko, an alpha among alphas. But even Hobin knew there were bigger fish in the pond, someone like Munseong, the pro MMA fighter. With him previously feeling that way now, he feels like a boss having the babe Bomi at his disposal. He walks with her to their next location, and completely forgets about the live stream, making us wonder why he even pulled it out in the first place. While he walks, he imagines their future together, coming home to a loving wife like Bomi. He imagines himself giving her flowers and having tons of children with her. Then suddenly he wakes up from this dream when Bomi asks him why he is spacing out. He plays it off as being a man of few words, knowing if he acts dumb she won't like him anymore. As he orders this meal, he gets roasted by some onlookers, wondering how an ugly guy like Hobin could ever be with someone like Bomi. Once he overhears them commenting about him matching her, he takes the tracksuit off, showing he is still not confident in himself. He continues on his date regardless, starting to lose interest in Bomi because of how unconfident he is. She notices this and tells him that he is being way too dry around her, leaving in the process. While she walks out, he asks her if she is embarrassed to be around her, informing her he has never had a girl before. He tells her his hobbies and interests, revealing everything there is about him. With every word coming out diminishing himself, he looks more and more like a loser, all the while complimenting Bomi. This only draws her in more, finally realizing there is more to Hobin than just some loser. Eventually, after this date, Bomi gets a call from someone telling her he is in town. Bomi decides to invite them to join them, thinking everything will be alright. Before he arrives, Hobin asks who her friend is, hoping it's another girl, but to his surprise, it's Munseong. This makes him feel like a loser again, recognizing him as a man with everything. He thinks of his future with Munseong in his life, imagining that Bomi would rather marry him over Hobin. This makes him feel like a loser again, trying to hide his thoughts from Bomi. He lies to her and tells her they are friends, but right after he says this, Munseong emerges before him. He also happens to be wearing the tracksuit, making all three of them matching together. With Bomi standing by the side of Munseong, he wonders how he will get him out of this situation, claiming to be friends with him. He assumes that Munseong will ruin his moment with Hobin, but to his surprise he plays it cool. He tells her that they are friends in the same class, stunning Hobin. Hobin questions how someone who doesn't even know his name could defend him in front of a baddie like Bomi. Munseong then notices they are all wearing the same fit, so he compliments Hobin. With the tension cleared up, the three walk through town, making Hobin wonder who looks better with Bomi. He considers himself the third wheel, even though he has been on a date with her all day. Knowing this, he decides to leave them be, still thinking he has no chance getting with Bomi. As he walks away, Bomi acts sad, wishing he hadn't left. Once Hobin gets away, he finds Snapper recording him, wishing he would have fought against Munseong for the chick. Hobin, however, knows that there would be no fight against him, it being an all-out beating. Snapper then informs him that if he doesn't fight for his girl, then he will never truly win her over. This makes Hobin realize he just needs to grow some balls rather than acting like a coward. Snapper tells him if you give up before the game, then there is no chance to win in the first place. He asks him who just bawled Bomi out all day, making him realize she doesn't just think of him as a friend. With this in mind, Hobin finally gains the courage to stand up against Munseong, even though he probably has no ill intentions. As he walks away, Snapper thinks to himself, what an idiot. He knows that Hobin will get demolished in a fight, so he follows behind, hoping it will make some good content. Hobin, on the other hand, approaches the two and realizes nothing is going on between the two. Munseong leaves before he even raises a fist, making him wonder why he was tweaking out. As Munseong leaves, he tells Hobin that he has seen his videos, informing him he is getting much better at fighting. He tells him that he knows he purposely let the opponent beat up on him, making Hobin clueless to what he's talking about. Hobin then goes and sits down with Bomi to talk things out, where he hopes to get a confession out. As he tries to spill it out, he rubs his legs in a panic, hoping to hide his boner. Instead of confessing, he decides to ask her for what her type is in girls. She tells him she loves an honest guy, so he tries to confess to her but stops upon realizing he has someone following closely behind him. He sees Snapper, and when he looks back he finds not only him but also Pago with anger-filled eyes. Hobin steps up to the plate and tells Bomi to leave, but Pago has no intentions of doing so. He remembers her from the McDonald's, so he calls her a thought for ignoring him. This angers Hobin, so he starts roasting Paco, knowing whoever is the angriest loses. These actions cause Pago to strike him, but he knows if he runs into the hit, nothing will happen. Paco, however, has seen his videos, so he knows what he plans on doing, striking him in the jaw. This makes Hobin wonder if he is done for, thinking about what he could possibly do. He thinks back on all the times he would be beat up in his past, and how he learned the secret techniques from the Chicken Man. With all of this in mind, he tells himself nothing mattered, as long as the money was flowing in. He then acquired a baddie by his side, making him become overconfident. He tells himself this is his punishment for succeeding too much, blaming it on his own actions. Hobin thinks that eventually Paco will stop hitting him, but he continues to strike, showing no mercy. As he gets struck, he begs for them to release Bomi, telling him he will let him beat him all he wants in exchange for that. With nothing working, he eventually decides to stoop as low as he can, bowing down. Pago isn't satisfied, however, telling him to take his pants off for the camera. He shows him that Snapper is behind them, recording the entire interaction. Pago then tells him again to take his pants off, but before he can, Bomi moves in to slap him in the face. Once this happens, Pago urges Snapper to divert the camera so he can smack Bomi back without being on camera. As this happens, however, Hobin strips down to the bone, begging for forgiveness. To finish up these actions, Hobin takes off his underwear as well, showing he is serious about this. Right before he does, however, Munseong emerges, pulling his underwear back up. He approaches the bullies and knocks some sense into them, showing there is always someone stronger than yourself. After displaying all of these moves, he asks Bomi if she is alright. He ignores Hobin, leaving him to figure things out himself, all the while stealing the girl. Some other girl watches all of this play out and is brought to tears. The next day at school, Hobin wonders when everything went wrong. He thinks back on all the times he was bullied and struggled to make friends. With him being picked on for no reason, he began hating school, wishing he never was even born. He eventually got too scared to look people in the eye, causing everyone to prey on him. This cycle repeated until the one day when Hobin finally retaliated and stood his ground. Now in the present, Hobin feels right back at where he once was, thinking he lost it all. Because of this, he is brought to tears while Pago regains his fame. Now, instead of acting like a good guy, he openly bullies people, forcing Snapper to be his plaything now. Snapper only wishes to apologize, knowing things must be going bad for Hobin. Even Bomi is unable to reach Hobin, he just wants to disappear. While everyone thought he gave up on life, in reality Hobin decided to change. He watched every video there is to offer by the Chicken Man and trained day in and day out. He fueled himself with rage, knowing just training won't be enough. After a month's time, Hobin finally reappeared at school, this time not acting like such a baby. With his phone in hand, recording the entire interaction, he urges Snapper to record what's about to go down. He then approaches Paco and orders Snapper to film this. To show he isn't messing around, Hobin stands face to face against Pago, telling him this stream is called How to Beat Someone Stronger Than Yourself.